Briterion Bollection, Season 2. I'm back here with Kris. How you doing, Kris?
Them the dream.
Yeah, I'm your host, Kevin. I'm here with Kris Stops, and this is Briterion Bollection. Thanks for tuning in today. Today we're going to be continuing our summer theme that we were trying to do over the summer. And this movie reminds me of the summer, I guess. And it's the movie Hard Target, the John Woo directed film starring Jean Claude Van Damme. Came out in 1993. Did you see this in theaters at all?
I think I did. I think I was like a big Van Damme kind of guy back in the day. It's kind of an
Yeah,
idol.
who wasn't, right?
Right. He's the
Yeah,
idol.
yeah, he was. He was on a hell of a run.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember this came out. I remember this came out like 1993. Yeah, we had already seen Bloodsport, which shot him to fame, which is a real masterpiece, I
Mm-hmm.
might add.
Yep.
But then he kept going. He had a really good run. Then he did Kickboxer and Lionheart and Cyborg and Double Impact, and then he did Hard Target. And yeah, we loved it. I was 9 years old when it came out and when I saw it, but me and my friends would like reenact it. We would do like shitty videos. Like we would record ourselves. Like one of my friends had his camcorder and he was recording us like trying to do moves from this. We were like sliding on cars and shit. Like squirt guns. We were like jumping on. It was hilarious. It was so funny. But yeah, this is a great film, and this movie's a little different from his other films because it's John Woo is the director, and he's a real master filmmaker, especially with action. He started in Hong Kong. He's done many great Hong Kong masterpiece films. Many of them with Chow Yun-fat is the main actor that he would use often, and he was great. He was great in his films. It was really awesome. And yeah, so this film, it's an action movie, but it has a little more artistry. And this is probably Woo's artsiest film in the West, believe it or not. I mean, as much as he did, as much art as he put into Face Off and Broken Arrow, this is probably his first Western film and probably his best as far as like kind of being artsy fartsy with things. So yeah, let's get into the Wikipedia of this. So it says in New Orleans, a homeless United States Force Recon Marine and Vietnam War veteran named Douglas Bender is the target of a hunt. He is given a belt containing $10,000 and told that he must reach the other side of the city to win the money and his life. Pursuing him is the hunt organizer and wealthy sportsman Emile Fouchon, his lead right-hand mercenary Pic Van Cleef, a businessman named Mr. Lopaki, Fouchon's client who has paid $500,000 for the opportunity to hunt a human, and assassins including Stefan and Peterson. Binder fails to reach his destination and is killed by 3 crossbow bolts. Van Cleef retrieves the money belt. And so the film stars, as we mentioned, Jean Claude Van Damme. He plays Chance Bordeaux, or Chance, as they say, Chance Bordeaux. And I love this description. He's an out-of-work, homeless Cajun merchant seaman and former United States Force Recon Marine who saves a young woman named Natasha Binder. So, yeah, that's the gist of it. And so we open the film and we see the perspective of some guy running around New Orleans. And then we see a metal arrow shoot through the air and almost hits this younger Kris Kristofferson looking dude. And we don't know who he is at first. And then we see Lance Henriksen, who plays Emile Fouchon, in the car, and he's looking like a badass. He's like just sitting there smoking. So I guess this Emile Fouchon, he's like upper class French as opposed to Chance, who's like Cajun ghetto, I guess. I don't know. Stupid. And so random dudes keep chasing the guy, the homeless guy, and they're trying to kill him. They got guns, they got motorcycles chasing his ass. And then we see Fouchon's main henchman, Van Cleef, who's played by Arnold Vosloo of the Mummy fame. And these are the only two movies I know of his ass. I've only seen him in The Mummy and this. Both great movies, both
Yeah.
awesome movies, but didn't have a big catalog. But he's great in both of these movies. And you're always like, where the hell is he from? I guess he's South African, I think. But he plays a good Middle Eastern guy and somewhat quasi French guy. And so they get the guy with the arrow and they shoot. They all shoot his ass with machine guns, and he's just like, ugh, he's just like riddled, and yet he keeps running to the pier, and they finally shoot him with an arrow through his chest, and he falls into the water. And they walk up to him and they cut this belt from him, which we later find out is the money belt that they give to the would-be contestant. You know, I don't know if the contestant really ever has a chance on this game show. You know, I don't think it's slightly rigged.
Yep.
So Fouchon asked the guy who killed him, he's like, was it worth it? And the guy's like, every nickel, he says. So yeah, so we figure out, yeah, okay, these guys pay to kill. It's almost like a precursor to Hostel. How in Hostel, the Eli Roth film, guys they pay to kill people just to get the rush of that. So this is almost like a precursor to that. And then it fades out, and then we see this pretty brunette woman driving around town, and she knocks on the door of this house, and she tells the lady that she's looking for Douglas Binder. And so the lady lets her in and gives her tea, and she tells her that she hasn't heard from him. She's like, but you might want to check this area. So she goes around to some homeless area, and she asks this African-American homeless man if he's seen him, and he says, yeah, he's a nice guy. And she asks, like, do you know where he lives? And he's like, well, no. He's like, you know, he was like us, you know, and then we see, like, dissolves of the homeless scene around there, and she's kind of triggered by that. She's like, oh my god, like, my dad was homeless? Like, she didn't realize that. So now she's kind of triggered and shocked by that. So, and it's funny that this movie kind of tackles homelessness early on. Like, homelessness is kind of a big deal now as far as like a topic, like a political topic, and you see it a lot now in all over the world, really. But this movie at the time was like ahead of the curve on the homeless front, the homeless talk. So I guess you got to give it some credit for that.
Yeah.
So it dissolves, and we see Jean Claude Van Damme, who plays Chance Boudreau, and he's eating in a diner, and his hair is awesome. So that's kind of what made me want to choose this film, because his hair reminded me a lot of Nicolas Cage in Con Air. This just has a little more curl to it. It has a little more mullet, curly mullet in the back to it. Going on. Yeah, he kind of he has a cool hair in this. So that's what made me want to choose this film, other than the fact that I love it. And he's eating in the diner, and I guess the producers were like, well, he has a French-ish accent, like maybe he can play a Cajun. They can be like, okay, like no American sense to him at all, but they're like yeah, maybe he can pass for a Cajun character. So that's the thing. Like, I love seeing him in this, though. He plays a pretty good Cajun. So I would have wanted him to play the Cajun. I think we know who we're talking about. I would have loved to see him as Gambit. That would have been sick. Oh, yeah. He would have been tight. That would have been great. Yeah, been a good fit. That's when they really should have done it. That would have been dope. But then, you know, Marvel didn't, like, those movies weren't coming out till later because they didn't have good enough CGI in the mid-90s. But if he played Gambit, that would have been sick. I would have loved that. That would have been sick.
Much better than Tatum.
Yeah, Channing Tatum. Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't even get to play it because they were going to do a full-on movie with him, but it fell through. It was like in development hell. So that he didn't even end up getting to do it. But then he did a little cameo in the Wolverine Deadpool movie. Right? Yeah. But, I mean, I guess he is from... What?
That was enough. That's all we need to see of that.
I guess he is from New Orleans, so he thought it would be cool and it would fit. But no, I'd rather see Van Damme as him, honestly. I think that would have been a lot cooler. So, anyways, so he's eating gumbo in this diner, and the waitress is like, "How's that gumbo, Chance?" And he looks up. He says, "A tragedy." And then we see that brunette come in. So her name is Natasha Binder, and she's played by the actress Yancey Butler, who I remember seeing later on. Like, I saw her in this, and then I didn't see her for a long time, and then I saw her in the early 2000s in the Witchblade series. So she played Witchblade. Did you get into that comic at all?
I can't say that I did.
It was a good comic. The chick was hot. The guy who drew that, he was really good, and he was good at drawing chicks. So yeah, Google it in your alone time. Witchblade. But yeah, I think his name was his name Michael Turner was the artist. Yeah, he passed away
Mm-hmm.
like already. It's already been a long time ago, but he was really good at the time. Yeah, so I remember seeing her in this and Witchblade, which is like, and then in the midst of Witchblade, she got arrested for cocaine or something. That was the last I've seen of her, sadly. Yeah, so she walks in and she asks for change at the register, and we see her flashing mad hundreds in her wallet, her purse, and Champ looks
Yep.
over and he's like, "Oh shit!" And then he sees these other guys noticing that too. They're like, "Oh my god!" Like, but she's so naive and she doesn't know the harsh street life of New Orleans, so she's not aware. She doesn't think she's gonna get robbed, but Chance sees it, and those guys are scoping it out too. It's funny that they care more about her money than her looks or anything. They're like, look at that chick. Look how much money she's got. They don't care about anything else with her. So they see that, and she walks out, and he walks out, and this blues music starts to play on the soundtrack, and those guys try to grab her purse, and they smack her. And Chance like hears that, and he's like, "Okay, I gotta backpedal, gotta go back." And Chance comes in, and they're like, "What the fuck do you want?" And he has this coat, and he's just standing still. But then he like opens his coat, and you can see his leg, and the guy's like, "What the fuck am I looking at? Like, what is this? Like, why are you showing me your leg?" And then all of a sudden, he just kicks these guys' asses big time. He just roundhouses these guys, and he kicks those two guys' ass hardcore. He hits the guy's head into the pole, and you can hear it. It's like boom, like really loud into the pole. And some other guys come out, and he kicks the guy with the switchblade through the window. It's so cool. I love that. And he breaks the other guy's arm. Like the other guy comes up behind him, and he's like, you just hear the crunch of the guy's bones. I love that.
Words.
Yeah, he bends it 90 degrees the other way. I love that. And so those guys are all on the ground dying, and he tells her, he has a lot of cheesy one-liners, obviously. So he's like, "This used to be such a good part of town." He tells her that, and she's just like, and he gives her back her purse, and he walks away, and she's bleeding a little bit, and her hair is a little disheveled, and we cut to people are striking at City Hall, and the chick goes there, Natasha, and we see this African American lady in the police station, and she's celebrating her birthday by herself, and she's about to blow out the candles, but then Natasha walks in, and so she puts her little personal pancake away with the candle lit on fire still in her drawer, which is weird. And Natasha
Yep.
asks her, "Oh, I'm looking for my father," and she shows her a picture. But then the chick doesn't want to help her. She's like being a biatch about it. So she just walks away, and then she kind of feels guilty. She was like, "Hey, okay, like you need to find someone who can show you around. Check the homeless shelters." And so she's like, "Okay." So we cut to Chance is standing by these docks where they're giving out jobs on a boat. So they're basically like, "Here you go, here you go, here's a job, here's a job." And a bunch of dudes are just standing around, and that chick parks her car and walks up to him, and she's like, "Oh, he's the only guy I know. He saved my life earlier. Let me see if he wants to help me." So she goes up to him and asks him like, "Oh, you want to help me?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I'm going to be out of town." And then the guy says his name. He's like, "Chance Boudreaux." And he's like, "I'm going to be way out of town, like, because you're going to be on this ship, right?" So she's like, "Okay." She's sad about it. and she's about to drive away all discouraged. But then the guy passing out the jobs talks to Chance, and he tells him, "Oh, you got dues to pay." And he's like, "Oh, like I'll pay him like when I earn, on this trip." And he's like, "Nope." He's like, "You can't ship out if you got dues." So he's pissed. He gets turned away, and the chick is about to drive away, but then this truck moves in her way, and she's like, "Fuck!" Like now I gotta wait for this slow ass truck to like get out of the way. So she's waiting, and then the truck moves away, and then who do we see there? Chance Boudreaux standing there. He's like, "I'm your man. I can help you." And he's like smoldering, looking at her. He's like really like doing this Zoolander face to her, and she's pleasantly surprised. And yeah, I like how it does this like triple cut zoom. Like it's like doom doom doom, like close up to his face with the slide guitar blues playing, and so he agrees that he'll help her for 2 days, as long as she pays him $217, which is what he needed. Those were his dues that he had to pay. And she's like, "Oh yeah, great, sure, I'll do it." And she's like, "You want to drive?" And he's like, "I don't drive." And she's like, "Okay." So they drive off, and she tells him that her name is Nat, and he's like, "Nat." He's like, "Your parents name you after a bug?" Like, and she's like, "Oh, it's short for Natasha." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "What kind of name is Chance? Like, that's a shitty name." And he's like, "Because my mother took one." Like, he's trying to act all smooth with that. Really cheesy. And then they go to the shelter where people are in line for food, and they see that African American guy who his name is Poe, like Edgar Allan Poe. And he tells Natasha that he found her dad's cart of stuff, his little homeless cart, and she starts to look through it, and she cries. She like breaks down just seeing that, he was homeless. And then she sees there's like a stack of these sex flyers, basically. And Chance tells her like, don't be upset by that. I'm sure he just passed them out for money. That's what he assures her. But that would have been funny if the black guy was like, "No, he liked looking at those too." Like if he just chimed in, like he's like, "No, he didn't do that for money. He loved
Collect
that."
those on the street.
Yeah, he would
I'll
collect
take one.
those.
Same one. I'll take it again.
Yeah,
Collector.
yeah. So
Well, I don't know. He had to console him and that console her. Like I
correct.
don't know. That was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so they go to this
Don't
guy.
feel bad.
They're he kind of asks around like who do they get these flyers, and so they go out to this guy who passes out the flyers to them, who hires them to pass out the flyers. Hey, is that the kitty? Nice.
Yes.
So
Oh,
they
crazy.
go, and it's this fat guy.
What she wants. What do you want?
The fat guy's name is Roper, like Ebert and Roper. So they go to him, and they kind of question him. And they tell him that they're looking for Douglas Bender, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know where he is." And then we see Van Cleef is there. Chance looks over and he sees him. They're kind of like mean mugging each other already. He looks at him like, "Who's this guy? I fucking hate him." Like they're both like, "Oh," like getting in each other's face already, and they don't even know each other. They haven't even said a word to each other, but they're already like, "Oh," like looking at each other all pissed off.
Alpha males.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a good nemesis for Van Damme. I feel like he's like perfect, opposite number for him. They're like a really good. Like you're just waiting this whole time. You're like, okay, I want to see these guys fight. You're like, I really want to see this shit. And it kind of slowly builds. We don't see it till almost the very end of the movie, which is great. So they walk out, and a cop sees her and is like, "Oh, you're Natasha Bender," and she's like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh, like we found your dad's body," and she's like, "Oh my god." So cut to she's in the coroner's office, and the police lady, her name is Maria May, tells her that he was burned pretty badly, and so he's like all charred to bits, and she's just like, "Oh my god, like can't believe I'm looking at this." And cut to the fat guy Roper is asleep in his house, and we see Van Cleef come in out of nowhere while he's asleep, and he just decides to wake him up. So he says, "Wakey, wakey, fat fuck," and he karate chops his stomach. And he's like, "Whoa." Which I used to do that. If we would have, when me and my friends would have like sleepovers, I'd be like, "Wakey, wakey, fat fuck." I would do that sometimes. Good times. Yeah, so he wakes his ass up, karate chops his ass, and he's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck's going on?" And he tells him like, "Oh, like don't give any info. You know, if people are asking about shit, like don't say anything about us." And Fushan is there, and sits him down, sits Roper down, and Fushan is just like calmly observing everything. And Fushan has scissors at his earlobe, like really sharp ass scissors too. And you can see him like about to cut his ear, and he's like, "Ooh," and Fushan's just like, "Go, like be good." He's like telling him to don't tell anyone anything, and then Van Cleef just like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it." So he cuts his earlobe, and yeah, looks very painful. And he's like, "Ugh,"
Oh
and
yeah.
Fushan's like, "Okay, so should stay quiet, don't say shit, and we won't kill your ass." And he walks out, and Van Cleef, he has the scissors, and before he walks out, he says, "Randall, like I come back here, I cut me a steak," and he like stabs the scissors into the wall. And we cut to Natasha is distraught that she's still sad about the fact that he's dead, and just the fact that he didn't tell her that he was homeless and never tried to reach out. And Chance is trying to console her. I like how he tries to act really dramatic here, like he's like really like a good actor. You know, he's he's like, "Your dad, he tried, he was ashamed, he didn't want to tell you." Yeah, he deserves a Razzie for this. So
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and then we cut to Van Cleef and Fushan while it's like juxtaposed. He's with her, and Pick, Van Cleef, and Fushan are going over Chance's dossier. They're like, "Okay, who the fuck is this guy?" They somehow have his file or whatever. They're looking at it. I love scenes like that. I love when they're looking over this guy's sordid past, and they're like, "Oh, he was an ex-marine." And he says, "Oh, he was raised in the bayous by his uncle, like he's some Native American dude, like he knows the land so well." I mean, they do a good job really setting up the cheese of this. And Van Cleef, he's like chomping at the bit. He like really wants to kick his ass. Yeah. So he says, he's he says, "Maybe I should pay him a visit." And Fushan says, "No, no, no. I'll have a couple lads pay him a visit." Like he's gonna send some British gentlemen over to visit him, a couple lads. And then when he says that, Van Cleef is like, "Yeah," like he's all like contemplative, like he's sad that he won't get to kick his ass. So yeah, it's just funny how he acts that. And then we see Chance, he's snooping around, and he
Mm-hmm.
finds some dog tags in this abandoned house, and then a dove flies in, which is classic Wu. He always has doves. That's like a big theme of his. As cheesy as it is, he still throws them in every chance he gets. So he sees some dove fly in, and he looks over and he sees the dove has some dog tags. And Chance is like, "Yeah." Like, that's all he says. He just says, "Yeah." So he snoops around some more. He looks in some other rubble of a burned down house, and he finds dog tags, and they're Binder's dog tags. So he's like, "Okay, like I got a lead, I guess, on this." And so then the lads that Fushan sent come out of nowhere, and they have this like choker stick, so they like wrap it around his neck. He's like, "Oh shit!" They could easily have killed him there. I don't know why they didn't. I guess they just wanted to scare him first. But yeah, they choked the shit out of him. But then they let him go, and the guy's like, "Get the fuck out of Dodge! Tell that bitch to take her titties north." The hell? And then they kick him hard in the face, like one last time before they leave. They're just like, "Ah!" And his face is just like all fucked up. That sounded like it hurt. Really good sound design on this. It really sells a lot of the action. That's something they don't get enough credit for. And yeah, Kurosawa said 70% of filmmaking is sound. So you really have to master sound if you want to make a great film. So we cut to the police station, and Chance is there with the detective lady, Maria May, who's played by Cassie Lemons. And Natasha comes in, and Chance looks like shit. His face is all bloody to hell. And the police lady tells him, hey, take it slow, rest. And he's like, okay, like, fine. Like, take it slow. I almost thought he was gonna go Ace Ventura on this. And I thought he would be like, what are we gonna do all alone together all these hours? I thought you were gonna hear. Yeah, but he didn't get into that. Wu usually doesn't have a lot of sex in his movies, and I'm sure that's a letdown for you. But usually has a lot of honor and humanity in his action movies. Like amongst all the violence and killing, he has a lot of honor and, and humanity in it. So we cut to Fushan. He's playing piano and he's just killing it. He's like George Winston meets Amadeus. He's just like he's rocking out on the piano. And we juxtapose that with Randall, the fat dude, talking with that homeless black guy, Poe, from the beginning. And he's doing a job interview with him basically for The Hunt. And he asks him, so you were in them? And he's like, yeah. And he kind of tries to do some reverse psychology. He's like, maybe you wouldn't be interested in the job. And he has like $100 bill on the table and he takes it. And Poe is like, no, I'm interested. He grabs it. And he's like, okay. He's like, so you want this job, huh? And he's like, do you have any family? Anybody who cares about you? And the guy says, I got nobody. And just sad. Just sad that nobody cares about him and he's just willing to do anything, he could end his life with that, basically. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty sad situation. So then we see Van Cleef and Fushan talking to a new client guy who wants to play the hunting game. And they tell him, oh, we only hunt combat veterans to make it a challenge.
We've lost the man.
The guy's asking all these questions, kind of like, oh, how does that work? How is this legal?
Don't know, man. Hey.
So the new client guy, they're talking to him, and he's kind of questioning, like, oh, how is this legal? Like, how can you guys get away with this? And they say, oh, we have a doctor, Dr. Morton. He does all the autopsies. He's like the city coroner. And so they pay him off, and they pay off whoever else they need to. And he's like, okay, like, I'm down then. He's into it.
Yeah.
So cut to Chance goes to this massage parlor where the fat dude Randall is getting a neck massage from some chick there, and that dude is face down. So then Chance takes over. He tells her to go aside, and he takes over massaging his neck, and and Poe doesn't even know. And then all of a sudden, Chance is like, "Hello, Poe." He's like, "What the fuck?" He starts freaking out, and then he just slams his face into the table.
Repeatedly.
Yeah. And he's like, looks like you're short an ear, so you better listen carefully. Like, who sent those apes after me? So he's questioning, he wants to know who he's working with. And he keeps slamming his face into the table, so he says, Van Cleef! It was Van Cleef! And he's like, okay, well, tell your little boyfriend Van Cleef that I'm gonna find out who killed Douglas Binder. So I know I'm doing a horrible accent, but that's that's the best I could do. And making him sound more like Antonio Banderas than Jean Claude Van Damme. So we cut to the Dr. Morton guy, who they pay off, and the police lady, Maria May, goes to him and she asks him, oh, please redo these autopsies, the autopsy on Douglas Binder. And we see his face, he's like shitting bricks at that point. He's like, fuck. They're starting to find out. They're starting to know. So then we cut to him at home, and he's burning shit. He's burning any files, I guess, just trying to get rid of any evidence. And Fushan rings the doorbell and comes in, and he's pissed. He's pissed off with how he's handled the whole situation. But Fushan's still calm, and he's sitting there, and that dude's like, "They're on my ass! They want to get me!" And then we hear the doorbell ring, ding dong, and he's like frozen. And Fushan says, "Well, go get it." So he goes to the door, and right when he looks in there, we see Van Cleef with a gun at the hole, and he just blasts it, and the dude flies down, hole in his eye, he's dead. And I thought that was such a cool shot. And
Yeah.
Fushan lets Van Cleef in, and he's like, "What a funny little man." Were you gonna say something? No. Okay.
It's a great.
Yeah, great scene. So then we cut
projectiles with anything with projectiles was killing it.
Yeah, so we cut to the homeless African American guy Poe. He's waiting around where Roper told him to be, but Roper isn't there. But then Fushan and Van Cleef show up, and he asks him, "Where's Poe?" And Fushan's like, "He had an ear infection." And Van Cleef is like, "Look, he's." It's like a nice little in joke that they have.
Joke.
Yeah, exactly. And Poe was like, "Oh, he said he had work for me." And Van Cleef was like, "Well," he's like, "that's still a possibility." He's like, "You want to play a game?" And he's like, "What kind of game?" He's like, "Well, here's the game." And he pulls out the money belt, and he tells him, "Hey, this belt has $10,000 in it. If you can get to the river 10 miles through the city, it's yours." And so he's like, "We're like, okay, like, that's interesting." And Fushan really like guilts and shames him into doing it. He's like, "Maybe you like being the object of pity, begging for quarters." He's like, "Think about it. With this money, you can get new clothes. This money can make you a man again instead of a shadow of your former self." He like shames him into doing it, and he's like, "All right." And he's like, "Well, what if I don't make it to the river?" And Van Cleef says, "Oh, you're a sports fan, Roper. You figure it out." And all these cars come out and motorcycles come out, and they all have guns. All these dudes have guns, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And then the new client, Mr. Zenon, is about to shoot him. He like has the gun. Like that dude starts running out, and he's about to shoot him. And Fushan's like, "Hey, like this is New Orleans, not Beirut." So then he starts running, and then the motorcycles kind of chase him to scare him, and he runs into the cemetery there. So all these guys follow him. And they shoot off mad rounds, and they hit him, and he's groaning on the ground. I think they got him in the leg or somewhere, and he's groaning. And Fushan tells the client, "Finish him," but he doesn't want to do it. He's like, "Oh, he's on the ground. Like I want to shoot him while he's running around." And Fushan's like, "Damn it!" He just wanted him to kill him already. And then that dude hides. Yeah. Poe hides somewhere, and you don't know where he is, and they're looking for him. And then he comes out of some random tombstone that has an opening, and he grabs the guy's gun and shoots the shit out of him. He did a good job there. He did a good job hiding and killing. That was good. I was like, good for him. He at least killed one guy with that, and it was the client guy. And then Fushan, yeah. And then he runs off. Poe runs off, and then Fushan comes up, and he hates seeing people dying, so he like just kills him himself. He sees Fushan on the ground. He's like, "Fuck!" And he just shoots him.
Die already, fucker. Die already. I'm fucking tired of this shit. Like, no compassion. Just fucking, you're a loser.
Yeah.
You can't even die right. Here, let me finish it for you.
I know. I agree.
Jeez. Heartless.
Yeah.
He's a heartless man.
Yeah. So then Poe, he makes it to the town square, like you know, the main square in New Orleans, and he's asking for help, but nobody wants to help him because I think everyone thinks he's asking for money. But he's like, "Help me," and they're like, "No, like no." Right. They keep kind of pushing him away, and then those motorcycles, he sees them in the distance, and he looks over, and he's like, "Shit." And then it's funny, he begs the guy with glasses. He's like, "Help me out, man." And then the guy's like, "I ain't got no change, man." He just like screams at him. Like, and he's like, "Damn it." Like, he just shrugs there. And we cut back and forth between Fushan and the hunters and him, and it's like a cool little sequence. It's pretty cool editing, and we see these stages on his face. Like we see this cycle, each cut back and forth. Like we see his face, he's scared, and then we cut to those guys. We see a gun come out, and then we cut back to him. His face is still scared, and then we see a silencer being put on the gun. And then we cut back to him, and he's like accepting it. At that point, he like we see the acceptance on his face. He's like, okay, like I got nowhere else to go now. And then cut back to Fushan, and then we come back to him, and then he's like, his hands are out, like, okay, come on, like shoot me, like he like embraces the death at that point. And yeah, he lays out his hands like he's Jesus or something, and then he just gets bullet riddled at that point. He just like he dances from all the gunshots that they shoot him with, and then only then are people around him like, oh my god, like they start freaking out when they see him getting shot. And then the next day, Chance goes and sees Poe on the ground, and the cops are there, and he's crying, and he's kind of like, now it's personal, bastards. You killed my homeless friend. Now I kill you. So then we see Randall. We cut to him trying to leave town with his bag. He's rushing to his car, and he has his like getaway bag that he has, and he's about to start the car, and then we hear this crash through his window, and it's Van Cleef holding a gun, like a big ass rifle. And he puts it to Randall's neck, and he's like, Randall, you're gonna leave without saying goodbye. And he's like, oh, my mama's sick. And then Van Cleef just like, we just see him like pull the trigger and just like, and then all this blood just shoots through the front window, and it's pretty cool. But like, just when he shoots the gun, like the glee on Van Cleef's face, he's just like so happy to kill this guy. like, jeez. Like, he's pretty evil. And then Maria May, the cop, comes into the scene with Natasha, and Chance is there, and they see Van Cleef. So then she starts busting caps at him, and then he starts busting caps at her, and then just becomes a full blown shootout. All these random guys come out of nowhere with guns, and they all start shooting each other. This is a fucking great scene. This is really good. And then Chance, like Van Cleef, basically shoots and kills her, and she's dying, and Chance grabs her gun and starts shooting at them. He gets Van Cleef in the arm, and then he starts shooting all the motorcycle guys, and like I was saying, great sound design. Like, the gun sounds on here are so good, that like they're so loud, and like, you know, the movie Heat, Michael Mann's Heat, gets a lot of credit for the gun sounds in that movie, but to me, this is up there. This is right up there. Like, the gun sounds of this are so good. Like, you can hear them. It's like really in your damn ears. I bet if you see this in a theater or like see it in IMAX, like, it's hella loud. Yeah, but good sound design. But the editing here is brilliant too. That's where you got to give John Woo credit. I know there's this book that RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, he put out. It was called The Tao of Wu. Basically, like, kind of show like the Wu-Tang philosophies of art and life and hip hop and stuff. That's basically what it was. And so he, you know, after RZA did the soundtrack of Ghost Dog, he ended up working with Tarantino on Kill Bill. He did like a little bit of music for that. And then all of a sudden he started hanging out with all these directors. Yeah. So then he started hanging out with John Woo, I guess, a bit. And so, and you know, the Wu-Tang always had that Asian influence. But I guess he met with John Woo, and in that Tao of Wu, RZA mentioned like, oh, like, you know, meeting John Woo was great because I loved his movies growing up. So to meet with him, that was awesome, and he gave me a lot of good advice as a director. And he was like, oh, I didn't realize we would have so much in common. He was like, this guy from China, he was like, he grew up just like me. He was, you know, kind of a poor kid living in a slum, got into some gangs and drugs, and then eventually became an artist. He was like, that's like my story too. He's like, this guy grew up just like me. And he mentioned that John Woo said, oh, to be a director, like to make great films, you need to be a director who has the mind of an editor. He's like, and then you need an editor who has the mind of a director. And so when you guys collaborate, you guys can make something really great. So that's some philosophy that RZA mentioned that John Woo gave him. And when you see this film, the editing is brilliant. Like the mixing the slow motion with the like regular motion and like the space of everything and how you're not confused. Like you see how everything fits together. It's like perfect. So then like he kicks the guy in the head on the motorcycle, which is awesome. Love that. And Natasha is crying because the cop lady died, and Chance just tells her she's dead. Come on, like he had no sympathy for her. He was just like, she's dead. Let's go.
Leave her behind.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, all the black people died, right? Like they're the first ones to die, right? So not even in a John Woo movie could they get away with that. So then Chance and Natasha ride off on the motorcycle, and then there's another motorcycle guy driving towards them, and then he kind of gets up on the motorcycle and shoots the guy, and the motorcycle, like he shoots the guy off the motorcycle, and that motorcycle is skidding towards them, and then they like jump, they like do a hop through the flames, and you can tell that's a total stunt double. Look nothing like Van Damme, but still cool. And then on the motor, when they land, he runs into the guy, another guy, and like basically like runs him over in the balls, like, and pins him to the wall. And then they drive to this part of the freeway, but it's blocked off. And then he sees gas is starting to pour out of this motorcycle that he's using. So he's like, ugh, like you can see him, like you can see the light bulb go off in his brain. He's like, okay, I have a great idea, because he sees some other bad guys in a truck driving towards him. And he's like, okay. So then he starts driving towards him, and then all of a sudden he starts like standing, like he balances on the seat of the motorcycle while it's riding, and then he pulls out a gun and starts shooting the guys, and it's fucking awesome. And he shoots them, and then as he crashes into it, he flips over the truck, and then they're behind him, and then he shoots at them like as they crash, and then it explodes, and he runs away as it explodes. It's fucking awesome. Such a good action sequence. And then Fushan comes out of nowhere. He comes in some like his car, his Cadillac, whatever the hell he has. He comes out of nowhere and he has his gun, and it's like, where the fuck did he come from? And he has that fucking pretentious ass gun, like this Civil War gun, whatever the fuck he has, and he has to like load it one bullet at a time. It's so fucking annoying. Hate that. And so yeah. He's with Chances with Natasha, and they go to the side of the freeway, and they see this train running through, and they're like, oh shit. And he's like, ladies first, and she's like, what? And so he's like, okay, we don't have no other choice. So they just jump down, and they got lucky that they land on like the soft area of the train, like the tarp of the train, and so they land. Mm-hmm. And Fushan sees that, so he gets his gun and he points it, but they're already too far, and he's like, fuck. And so he just puts it away. I like that, because it kind of reminds you of Inglourious Basterds, at the beginning of Inglourious Basterds, when Shoshana runs away because Hans Landa and the Nazis, they're looking in that French cabin in that farm in the very beginning, and all her and her family are hiding underneath, and they shoot at the floorboards and kill everybody, but she runs out, and she's running out far away, and then Hans Landa sees that, and he like points his gun, and he's like trying to shoot her, but she's kind of too far, so he's like, fuck. So he just like puts it away. This scene reminds me a lot of that. I don't know if Tarantino stole that from Woo here. I know he was a big John Woo fan before. I don't know if he still was by that point. I mean, I'm sure he stole some shit still. But I remember in the Reservoir Dogs script, he like, it was kind of pretentious, honestly, but in the script of Reservoir Dogs, he put like, this is dedicated to Chow Yun-fat, John Woo. He wrote that on like on the cover, or you know, on the second page of the script. He actually wrote that. But I remember when they interviewed him 10 years later about it, they're like, okay, like, you wrote, this is for John Woo and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I'm not as into John Woo as I was. At the time, he was kind of like, I was really into it at that time, but not really anymore. But maybe he stole that, because it did remind me a lot of that. And yeah, I love movies where people jump from a high distance. Like that, I'm a sucker for that. Come on, Predator, The Beach, which me and Aileen just talked about. That was our episode 2 of summer for movies. And this. I love when people jump from some high ass shit. It's just engaging to me for whatever reason. And so yeah, they ride off on the train, and Fushan looks at Van Cleef, and he's like, "Looks like we got one last hunt, Pick." And then Pick is just like, he doesn't say anything. He just like raises his eyebrows, like, yeah. It was like, why did he do that? I mean, there was something kind of realistic to it, because that's like some shit I would do. I mean, like, I'll, if someone tells me something, I'll be like, but it's just funny that he did that, raising the eyebrows. So they moved to some other bank, Fushan and Van Cleef, and Van Cleef is like the tracker, because he's so good. He's almost as good a soldier as Chance, and he looks at the mud and he's like, the train passed through here a couple hours ago. He's like, this could be dangerous because we're on his turf now. He's like trying to warn him, like he has the home field advantage now, basically. So then some more of their boys come out, and so I guess they're other hunters. And Fushan tells them, like, we have an exceptional trophy that we're hunting today. So these are other hunters who have participated before, because there's the Asian guy who was the hunter at the beginning was there too. And I just love that. But to me, this movie is really underrated. Like the pacing, and like it just gets even, like if you thought it was action packed up to this point, it gets even more action packed from here. Like it goes to like 11 after this. And so we cut to them, and they're walking in the woods, and she asks him, should I be afraid of alligators? And he says, if it makes you feel better, yeah. He tells her that. And he kind of sets up the bayou like Schwarzenegger sets up the jungle in Predator, kind of like he sets up booby traps for these hunters, so it's pretty cool. And the other guys are walking around on the hunt, and then she gets tired, so they stop somewhere. She wants to rest a little bit, and she rests against this tree, and he looks at her in the eyes, and he asks her, do you trust me? And she's like, what? He's like, do you trust me? And she's like, yeah. And this scene, it kind of reminded me of Aladdin. I feel like they stole that from Aladdin. Like, when he's like, do you trust me? And
maybe
he has the magic carpet. Came out the same year, so maybe he was floating on the ether or something like that. But it reminded me a lot of that. And he tells her, close your eyes. And we think he's gonna kiss her, because he kind of leans in a little bit. But then we see this rattlesnake coming up behind her. Her eyes are still closed, but then he grabs it really fast and slides it, and she's like, whoa, what the fuck is that? And then she opens her eyes, and she's like, oh my god, this fucking snake. And yeah, he grabs it slowly, and then he punches it to knock it out. He's like, he punches it a couple times, so he knocks it out. And then it's cool how he bites off the rattler. He bites it off. I always thought that was really cool. And she asks him,
like, what the fuck is he doing? Why is he doing that?
Yeah, she's like, what are you doing? And then he's like, I'm going to give my friends a little present. So we cut to those guys looking for his ass. And then this guy steps on this rope. And he's like, what was that? And he looks up, and then that snake falls down, lands on him, bites the shit out of him. And he's on the ground like, ah, son of a bitch. Fushan is getting pissed off, and Van Cleef picks it up, and Fushan shoots the shit out of it. He shoots the head, and it blows up. And Fushan stomps on the guy who got bit. He's like stomping on him. And then he says this weird ass line. He's like, I'll fuck you, and then I'll eat you. Where did that come from?
Bizarre.
He's like, if you would die quieter and pick up the pace. Yeah, that almost sounds like a text that Armie Hammer sent some chicks. I'll fuck you and I'll eat you. And then it's funny, Van Cleef is like, and do what your step, won't you? He tells them that. And then we cut to Wilford Brimley. We see Wilford Brimley making moonshine or something. And so he plays Chance's uncle Clarence Duvet. Clarence. And Wilford Brimley was 35 years old in this movie. No, he wasn't 35. He was older than that. But still, he's like, when he did Cocoon, he was only like 40 or 41. Didn't he look like he was 70 already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't age well.
Yeah, exactly. But he was great. I love that guy, and he plays a pretty good Cajun. He should have gone Cajun more often, honestly. So he's making moonshine, and he hears something, so he busts out his rifle. He has it at the ready, and then he hears some bird noise, and he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I know who that is." He says, "Chance, Chance," and we see Chance come out, and he's making like bird sounds with his mouth and shit. And Natasha sees this, and he's like, "Chance," and they hug each other. They're all happy, and they do the double kiss, French style double kiss on the cheeks. He does it with Natasha, and so yeah, his uncle tends to his wounds, and he tells him the whole story. Oh, these guys are chasing us, and he's like, okay, well, I'll try to help your ass. So he gives him his rifle, and he blows off the dust on it. And he's like, okay, and he's like, can I take your horse? And he's like, yeah, sure, take my horse. So he takes his horse too, and yeah, Wilford Brimley, he was really cool. I mean, Cocoon, that was great. That was the shit. And he passed away in 2020. But I like watching these Turner Classic Movie remember, like little obituaries at the end of the year. I think I showed them to you before. But that one is really good. The 2021. Mm-hmm. It was really good. If you should watch it if you haven't seen it, because it has him, and it has a line from Cocoon. It's really cool. Because they'll show all the actors or whoever in the movie industry who passed away, but then some of them will have some of their audio from the movie. And it has some audio from Cocoon, and it's really cool. And obviously, he used to do these Quaker Oats commercials too back in the day. Were you a big Quaker Oats guy?
No, sir, never ever.
You're not a big oatmeal guy, right?
No, not at all. Doesn't have sugar, I'm not gonna eat it.
Yeah,
Cocoa
I know that.
Puffs, Trim, Fruit. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
He looks like the Quaker Oats guy.
Yeah, I guess that's why they casted him. They're like, oh, let's cast him. I remember there was this funny SNL sketch. I think it was John Goodman was playing him. It was pretty funny because he sounded just like him, and he's like, that's why I eat Quaker Oats. I gotta watch my weight, watch my blood sugar. He was like acting the whole thing. It's pretty funny. But then he like segues into like some racist shit, and then he's like, well, that's why I go eat Quaker Oats. Too many migrants here. It's pretty funny. Something like that. It was pretty funny. You can YouTube it.
Putting on his hood while he's putting on his hood after he eats his oats.
Yeah, something like that. Where's my horse? Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. And then we see this nice little Kurosawa. Wow. So, and then after he rides off on the horse, we see this nice little Kurosawa transition. Star Wars, like when you see those Star Wars like screen, transitions, they got that. George Lucas really got that from Kurosawa, because Kurosawa would do that a lot in his movies, like Seven Samurai, shit like that. So it's funny that they use this Kurosawa transition, and then we see the hunter guys running, kind of jogging. They look fucking stupid as hell. They're like running with their guns, trying to find him, and then they raid some abandoned house, and these guys shoot it up to shit, but there's nothing. They find nothing, and then the uncle and Natasha see this. They see them shooting shit, and he gives her some moonshine. He's like, hey, try this. And then he shoots his arrow at his whole moonshine setup, because they get to his house finally, and he shoots it at the setup that he had there, and then it starts a fire, and it like gets a couple of guys. Some of the guys catch on fire, and Fushan's like, what the fuck? And he kills the guy who's on fire. Like, he keeps killing his own guys. Like, he keeps, like, if you get hurt, he's fucking killing you.
Yeah. Doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, he doesn't like wounds on his people. And he's like, get the fuck down, and then the house explodes like, whoa. And he tells one guy, the one guy with the cowboy hat, he's like, you are a fucking buffalo. I don't know what the hell he meant by that. He has a lot of weird lines in this. And then he kicks some other guy randomly. He's like, get the fucking move. Like, move your ass. He's kicking him. And these guys are just taking it. And then Van Cleef tells Fushan, hey, like, I want to take him from the air. And let me go in the helicopter. And he's like, no, like, I want to take him on the ground, asshole. And so they're kind of having an argument over that. But then Van Cleef is like, fuck it, I'm going on the helicopter. So he's on the helicopter with some other dudes, and he spots Chance on the horse. He's like, there he is. And so he's like, shoot his ass. And he tells one guy to shoot him. And he starts shooting, but he misses. And then Chance shoots back, and then he kills one of the guys. And then Van Cleef is like, fuck it, let me do it myself. So he shoots, and then he has this big ass bazooka, basically. He shoots him with, and it hits the ground, and Chance falls off the horse. But he's able to run off, and he runs into this warehouse nearby, and they keep shooting at him, but they barely miss him, and he kind of hides, and then we see this dove fly in, classic Wu, that when doves cry, flying in, and the hunters get to the warehouse, and they got mad weapons. They got more weapons than Ana de Armas. They got hella weapons, and then we see these pigeons looking over one of the hunter guys. It's almost like a little foreshadowing there, a little symbolism. And he shoots up and he hits some of the birds, so we see some of their feathers flying down. And then when he looks back down, Chance is in front of him, and he has a gas can on his feet, and he kicks it to his face, and he shoots it midair, and it explodes in the guy's face. So cool. Good kick, too. That's a better kick than a lot of American penalty dudes trying to kick. He could have played for the Belgian team, probably.
Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
golden age of Belgium.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Fouchon asks Van Cleef, he's like, "Are you angry, Van Cleef?" And he's like, "I don't get angry. I'm a professional." And so, yeah, they enter the warehouse and they fire mad rounds, but they don't hit anything. And this warehouse has a lot of like Mardi Gras crap. It has like a lot of old floats and stuff just hanging out there. And Chance is overlooking them all. He's like at the top with the pigeon on his shoulder. He's like, haha, dumb fucks. He's looking at them, all struggling to find his ass. And then Chance comes in and shoots them all. He starts shooting them. And then Fouchon's coat catches fire. He's like, oh, what the fuck? His coat catches on fire, so he has to like take it off. And these guys are just standing around too, and they're just standing there. And he's like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" He's like, "Do something." And then the uncle and Natasha show up on his horse. Chance kicks this guy and elbows him and takes his gun, and he shoots the other guy. He turns around, this other guy comes in, and then he shoots him with the gun upside down. Like the gun is upside down. He's like, and he's shooting him, and he kills that guy, the guy with the cigar in his mouth, and his uncle hits a guy with the arrow through the float. Like there's like he shoots through the float and it hits the guy in the back of the head. And then Natasha grabs a gun that she finds, and she's like, and then some guy turns around and he sees her. He's like, "You fucking bitch!" She just shoots him in the balls right there. So she got a little revenge there.
She loaded on his ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Chance swings through the air and shoots some guys. He's like Tarzan with a gun. He's like, he starts shooting some guys. And then the uncle hits a guy, but then he gets hit, and Chance sees that, so he's pissed. He's like, fuck, because he saw his uncle get shot in the leg, so he's like, shit, I need to ratchet this up a notch. So then he starts shooting mad dudes. He starts shooting all these motherfuckers. And then Fouchon sees that, so he shoots this oil tank, and the oil tank just flies. He hits it, it's like, just like goes high in the sky. And then finally, Van Cleef and Chance roll into this room, and they're like back to back against the wall, and this is like the ultimate showdown. Just like in Face Off, near the end of Face Off, you see Cage and Travolta with their backs to the wall like that. So it's a common Wu theme. And I love that. And they're like talking to each other, like, "You ready?" And they're like loading their guns. I love that. And then finally they're like, "Okay." And then they turn around and they start firing at each other, but they're missing. They're like 2 feet away from each other. They can't shoot each other. They're missing, obviously. But this is like the main event, you know, like, because obviously this guy is a better fighter than Fouchon. I mean, Fouchon's old. I mean, he can shoot guns, but he can't fight like this guy. He's not as agile as Van Cleef. Yeah, and then meanwhile, while he's trying to kill Van Cleef, these other guys are trying to kill him too. So he has to like kill them both. He has to like shoot at them while he's trying to kill him. and then he has all these grenades, and he has to play like musical chairs with these grenades. Like he'll dump one and jump into another room, and then it'll explode. And he'll dump another one, and he'll jump into the other room, and it'll explode. So he keeps doing that. He keeps jumping in and out of rooms with grenades, and the one room explodes. And then he lays a grenade, and he jumps out of it, and then Van Cleef is in the other room. So Chance slides on his back under this table, and he has his guns up right there, and he goes, and he hits Van Cleef like all in his chest, and he finally gets his ass, and he's like, ugh. You would have thought Van Cleef would have had a bulletproof vest or something, you know? But I guess he wanted to be more agile by not having the weight of it. I don't know. He probably could have saved him there, because I think he only got him in the chest, but that was really cool. How he slides. He slid in like... And then, yeah, so Van Cleef is gone at that point. So now Fouchon is pias. He's screaming. He's like, "You lucky son of a bitch!" And then and Chance, he has his gun with his wife beater on, and it's that classic line. I think they used it in the commercial a lot. Because he's like, "How does it feel to be haunted?" And Fouchon's like, "You tell me!" And he's just pias. He's screaming, and then we see Chance flip through the fire, and he shoots Fouchon, and he flies back like 20 feet. He shoots him, he's like, "Woo!" And he flew. And then the uncle and Natasha come out looking for Chance, and then Fouchon comes out of nowhere with an arrow, and he stabs the uncle in the chest. He's like, "Oh!" And he's like, "Oh!" And then he grabs Natasha, and he has an arrow to her neck, and Chance sees this, and he's like, "Oh shit, like, fuck, what do I do now?" And then Fouchon takes out his gun, and he's like, "Load me." like he wants her to put the bullet in his gun, and there's like something slightly sexual about it, I think he was going for. So she pulls out the bullet slowly, like really, really shakily, and she puts it in the gun. And while she does that, then Chance like sees the opportunity. He runs in slow motion, runs up to him, and then Fouchon looks like an idiot. And then he kicks him in the chest, and Fouchon grabs a burning piece of wood, and he's like trying to hit Chance with it. He's trying to like bash him over the head with it. And then Chance just goes full on kickboxer, blood sport. He just starts roundhousing. That's like his classic move, just roundhousing his ass. And then Fouchon grabs another burning wood, and he like tries to strike him from below, but then Chance just grabs it. Like, he grabs it with the flames like around his hand, and he's just like thinking about all the people he's killed. He's just like, "You killed the black dude, you killed the black chick, you killed these guys, you killed her dad." It's like, enough is enough. And Fouchon's just like, "Oh my god, like, you can't get burned." And then Chance just grabs a grenade and puts it down Fouchon's pants. He says, "The season is over," and he kicks him down, and they back away, and then Fouchon grabs a grenade, and they start running out, and he grabs a grenade out of his pants, and he tries to disarm it. He like unscrews it. He's like, "Oh," he's like, like he's happy. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "Yeah, I dismantled it." And then he's like, "Whoa," and then it just explodes. He thought he had it, but then he's like, "Woo!" It just explodes, and they run off, and then he checks on his uncle, and he thinks his uncle's dead, but then his uncle's like, "Oh." He's like, "This thing saved my life." And so it was his flask that he had in his chest pocket. And he's like, "Yo, alcohol saves lives. Always have alcohol on you." And yeah, it's such a cliche. You've seen that in a lot of old movies before. But yeah, and so they walk off and laugh, and it's just like a happy ending. Like, "Yay, we all survived. Good times. All these guys are dead. Let's go have moonshine now." So yeah, and then they walk off, and it ends with Creedence Clearwater Revival, "Born on a Bayou," which you love. I know you do. And that's Hard Target, or Hard Target, as they say in France. Any other words on Hard Target?
No. Gotta check it out. It's an awesome, amazing movie. Especially the last half hour or so. It's just
Yeah.
shit kicking show. He kicks the shit out of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of action. Like, like if you get bored easily by movies, like this has a lot of action, so it'll just keep your ass the whole time. Especially from the halfway point onward, there's tons of action. Yeah. Well, I think it's underrated. Like I feel like it's kind of a forgotten movie, kind of. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty underrated movie. I feel like it's pretty forgotten. A lot of people don't remember it. Like if they remember Van Damme, they think more Bloodsport or maybe Time Cop, but not this movie. And it's one of his best ones. I mean, John Woo, he's probably the best director he's worked with, honestly.
Sure.
And I remember when they were trying to get it greenlit, he was telling the producers like, "Hey, like, have him direct the movie because he's like the Martin Scorsese of Asia." And that's not a far comparison, honestly. He has really good chops. He's a really good director, and yeah, people should rediscover this film because I think it's fun, a lot of action, tackles the homelessness crisis early on. What more can you ask for? You got the guy from The Mummy, and you got Lance Henriksen. Come on, that's a great lineup right there.
You got the guy from Cocoon.
Yeah, got the guy from Cocoon, and Hard Target, part of our summer movies here at Briterion Bollection. I'm your host, Kevin. This has been Kris. Thank you for your time, Kris. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
Keep listening to us. Like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify. Peep the Patreon if you want to see the videos of this. Become a VIP Patreon member. All right, we'll see you next time. Later. Peace.